Okay, are we rolling? Yes, we are. Awesome. Hi again. This is Judy Mizraki. That is Judy Mizraki. And as promised, I am here with problem 5. Okay? Now, problem 5 deals with a density. Well, they want us to find out if it's a density function. Well, they want us to prove that it is a density function, or find it so that it's a density function. F of x equal to ax squared. Okay? For the absolute value of x less than or equal to 1, which is the same, and otherwise it's 0. So it only has like a value that's non-zero between -1, less than, okay, and 1. Okay, awesome. And the first part is we have to find a. Okay, we have to solve for this constant. Well, we know that for this to be a density function, the integral of f of x dx has to equal 1. Between negative infinity and infinity. And the reason for this is because at the end of the day, this is a probability. And when you integrate over all space a probability, you have to end up with 1 because that's a whole, right? So if you're adding up all the slices of pie, you get a whole pie. That's kind of the idea behind that. So, right, so we're going to integrate this. So this is going to be the integral. Now, we can take, since it's 0 except for between -1 and 1, we only have to take these limits between -1 and 1, excuse me, of ax squared dx, that's going to equal 1. Okay, that makes sense. So we can solve this fairly quickly. This is going to equal a times 1/3 times x cubed evaluated from -1 to 1, which is the same thing as a times 1/3 times 1 cubed plus 1 cubed, because it's minus a -1, which is the same thing as 2/3 a, which has to equal 1. See 1, see where that works? Which means that a is going to equal 3/2. All right, awesome. So then f of x is actually going to equal 3/2 x squared. Beautiful. Okay, good. So we're done with part A. Part B says that we want to find and draw this, f of x dash m, okay, where we're choosing m as our limits, like our space that we're interested in, as this big X is between -1 and -5, and -1/2, right? Or between positive 0.5 and positive 1, okay? So the first part is, I know it says find and draw, but I'm going to draw and find, okay? So obviously, okay, when we're looking at our function as f of x equals 3/2 x squared, okay, if we're going to graph this, remember it's only defined between -1 and 1. So let's let this be -1 and this be 1. Okay, so after this it's like going to only be 0, so it goes straight to 0. Now it's going to be a squared function, so it's going to go loop loop, and it's going to start. So at x equals 1, this equals 3/2, right? So that means that if this is f of x, then that means that it's going to equal 3/2. So let's say this is 2, and let's say this is 1, so it's going to be right in between the two when this equals, so here, okay? And we're going to get something that looks kind of like this. It's a nice square function, and then of course it's going to be like 0 right away, okay? So do, and then straight away 0, I shouldn't draw that as a solid line, I should draw it as like a dotted line, okay? Beautiful. Okay, so this is our function. Now, the m that we're talking about is taking just this part here, and this part here, okay? So this is what we're actually talking about. Now, this by definition, okay, is really the same thing. We'll just do it this way. The same thing as the probability, okay, that x is less than or equal to that big X, okay, of m. Okay, you see what I'm talking about there? Now, of course, that's going to be the same thing as the probability that x is less than or equal to this x in this m, right, over the probability that it's of m, okay? Now, the top part is really pretty simple if you think about it. Basically, we're saying that of all the places x can be, right, how likely is it for it to be between here and here? And that's pretty simple, okay? Because we're just kind of dealing with the number line part of it here because we only care about x. So it can be anywhere between -1 and 1, which is a total space of 2, okay? So out of 2, okay? And then the places where we want it to be are this area, which is 1/2, plus another 1/2. So it's going to be 1. Does that make sense? So this length plus this length is half of the whole length. So it's 1/2 on the top. Simple. Okay, good. Now what about for the bottom? The bottom, what we want is the probability that this function, okay, is in M. I believe that's what they're asking. And I think the simplest way to find that is again by integration. Because we know that when we integrate the entire function, right, when we get this whole amount, we're going to only get 1. So what if we integrate the amount of the function between here and here, and we add it to the function between here and here, right, then divide it by the total integration, right, which of course is just going to be 1, we should get the right answer, okay? So the bottom part, this part here, okay, we'll just draw a big arrow, okay, P of M, is just going to be the integral between -1/2 and 1, -1/2, oh, excuse me, actually -1 and -1/2, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way up the number line, okay, of 3/2 x squared plus this integral from 1/2 to 1 of 3/2 x squared, of course, dx. Now, we could just take the integrals, but it's a little bit faster if you just kind of notice that these areas have to be equal. So we can just say that this is equal to 2 times the integral between 1/2 and 1 of 3/2 x squared dx. Also, this is going to work really nicely because, of course, this integrates to a cubic function. So we'll go ahead and do that. So that's equal to 2 times 3/2 times 1/3, and of course we have x cubed evaluated between 1/2 and 1. Take a look at that. That should make sense. Let's just check for myself. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So this is going to equal, look at that, goes away, goes away. So it's just going to be equal to 1 cubed minus 1/2 cubed, which is the same thing, okay, as 1 minus 1/8, which of course is 7/8. All right, awesome. So this bottom part has to be 7/8. So then that tells us that this big F of x and m, okay, is just going to equal 1/2, okay, divided by the 7/8, which is going to equal, of course we're going to flip and multiply, 8 over 2 times 7, which is going to equal 4/7. All right, there you go. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great evening and take care. I'll see you next time.